Adam, GM, happy Wednesday, dude. Coming off the biggest spaces that we had hosted in, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months. Over 2,000 listeners that had tuned into that on spaces. And then another 500 or 700 or so on viewers across all the streams, man. People love the maps.
People love maps, bro. I don't know, man. This metaverse idea is still... bro, it's still real. I mean, I'm more convinced today than I was even in 21 that the metaverse actually is already here. We're just figuring out now. It's just the details. We all live this digital life. I saw a post yesterday, maybe it was a TikTok or something, where somebody was like, "Oh, I missed the days," and they showed like a picture of a computer setup in 1998, where you had the big PC sitting in your living room or something. And it's like, I like being able to go to the internet and then leave and be in my real life. And now it's a layer that just sits on top of our entire lives. And how we interface with that layer is it's changing so much. And if maps play a part of it, hey, everybody's going to be a winner. Oh, well, at least those people are. I'm not going to be a winner. I'm a loser.
Maps, man. I put this tweet out last night after that spaces with NATs. I'm kind of convinced that non-arbitrary tokens are going to make their way to other blockchains, just in the similar fashion that NFTs did. Because non-arbitrary tokens, really all you're doing is finding an arbitrary data set in a blockchain and then allowing people to mint tokens based off of what that set is, right? So like, I think the holy grail would probably be 69 on Doge. Blocks that has 69 on it, right? Like to me, that seems like a no-brainer. I think that'll probably end up trickling out to some of these other ecosystems for fun. It's almost like a scavenger hunt.
That's right.
In a sense.
Yeah. In a way, it's the way I'm kind of wrapping my head around it is rather than just be able to create tokens on whatever I want, right? So we started with like, okay, a naming system. Okay, we've constricted it like with BRC20. Okay, it's 4 digits and it can only be 4, right? And at the time, UI and everybody else is like, well, why not 3? Why not 5? Why not 1? Why not 2? Right? But no, it's restricted. And so it's looking for new ways to create this scarcity layer, right? And data that's tied already to something that's inherently known and scarce, blockchain data, is one way to do it. It keeps, as I'm looking at them, I'm thinking back to like, Crypto Arte and what Seb did with like this idea of like each block is like an image and stuff.
Such ahead of its time project.
Yeah. And so like, it's just this idea. And I think it's a winner idea. How we implement it though, obviously you can there's always new stuff that we can think of, right? To create this restrictive layers. But if these first ones actually, hold long-term, they could, be interesting for sure.
NAT to $1 billion is what I keep saying.
When are we ready to do NAT on Bell? Somebody come advise me on how to do it on Bell so we can get excited about it. Although we probably don't need more inscriptions right now. Got to be honest. We probably don't need more.
Also, it's just like a month of history of blocks. Not much
not much there.
Data there. That is, Bells to me is still one of the most interesting projects. I think it still has probably the highest upside of any potential ecosystem, because really what you're doing when you're trading inscriptions is you're creating it's essentially the ETH NFT 2021 playbook, right? Where they say NFTs are leveraged Ethereum.
Right.
So you just try to multiply your ETH. This was in 2021. You multiply your ETH so that when ETH goes up, then you sell everything to ETH. And then, then you get to ride those USD gains all the way up to the top.
Right.
Here with Bells, right, we're already seeing this with Bitcoin as well, right? All these BRC20 people who went up, 1,000x, 10,000x on Ordi, right? They multiplied their Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin also doubled in that case. Here with Bells, right, you're on the ground floor of pretty much every ecosystem. So whenever there's some sort of stability in that market, well, I think that I guess the community timeline is like 6 months, right? Because that's when the mining is stable or something like that, right? What is that? I forget.
I mean, really, it's a year. Really, it's a year. But the first halving is like, I don't know, 45 days away still, which cuts the miners fee in half. It works in that way. It's identical to Bitcoin. So it's a halving. They get half the miner rewards. But then it's like another halving in 90 days and then another in another 90 days, which is basically the year. And at that point, it goes to this thing of like, then each block is only like 2 Bell rewarded. Like, basically then it's 2 Bell per block forever, basically $1 million per year forever. So it gets to this like 60 million coin cap, and then it's $1 million a year forever. So basically when people are like, oh, but the supply in this, I'm like, but guys, take today out of it. Think of 60 million. That's how many tokens are going to be in most of our lifetimes, between 60 and 70 million tokens or coins, and use that as your calculator. So when you're thinking of market cap, what is it in relation to that? Like that's the way to think of Bells.
Yep. Speaking of Bells as well. Well, so then going back to that, right? Once that ecosystem's stable, people are going to be trading Bells. And so, or you're going to be trading Bellinols, right? To then multiply your Bells. But the value of Bells is literally pretty much at zero. It's at what, 15 cents or something?
Yeah, it's like 20 cents, 15 cents, something like that. that. Yeah.
So that's one of the coins itself that has the potential to, 1,000x or 10,000x. So you're going to multiply your bells and then ride 1,000 or 100,000, right? 1,000x. If you multiply your bells, trading Bellinals by 100, and then Bell's coin multiplies 100, right? You just have a 10,000x right there. Right?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of debate, and I might have been the person who sparked this. It's like, well, is the first token, Nook, going to have a bigger market cap than Bells, right? Than the Bell native token, and that is completely possible, right? Because there are, I don't know, it's like it takes 100 million inscriptions to mint out Nook, and so very much like Sats, this massive, massive supply. But you can do it, although it's many, many, many times more expensive today than it was a week or even 2 weeks ago, when it was literally like a tenth or a quarter of a penny to mint, mint these out, or even less. It was nothing. Like literally, you could mint 1,000 and it was like 10 cents. It was crazy inexpensive. But you wonder, okay, well, with that, which feels, basically even cheaper than even Inscriptions, which how cheap the ETHs were on Inscriptions. Okay, is that poised to have like, okay, if it goes up to a penny or 10 cents or 20 cents, that's like massive wins, right? So it seems like if there's a chance a BRC20 style token will exceed the market cap of a native currency, Nook may be that token.
Nook, maybe that token. Dude, I was listening to Tom, our favorite, one of our favorite founders out in this space. That fool is a madman, dude.
What happened?
Well, first, he's being a little bit more aggressive in his stance towards Inscription versus L2s. I was listening to him this morning on in Asian-based spaces, and again, dude, just coming after Vitalik, coming after the L2s, coming after decentralization. He made a post January 1st where he basically said, he's like, Inscription isn't coming after, he said Inscription isn't just coming after one L2. He's like, it's coming after everything. Like he thinks Inscriptions can supplant every single L2 that exists. Although, Blast had their announcement yesterday. I don't know if you saw this, right? Blast, a bunch of users, crazy, right? The meta on Ethereum is wild. $1.2 billion were sent to Blast with just to a multi-sig contract. There was no product, no nothing. So they came out yesterday and basically said that Blast L2 is going to basically, it's going to have everything that Blur has, plus they're adding Gamblefy products, which is basically what LooksRare is doing. They're going to have all these different NFTFi based products, and the Blur token, dude, pumped like 30%. And it's going to be tough to compete with Blast because they're going to be playing these tokenomic games. They're doing really, really well at that.
Yep.
So if he's going to come after that, it's going to be hard to defeat the degens who just want to gamble and multiply their money, especially because Blast has this like point system. Blur has a point system. It's just like, it is a degen's dream to go gamble on that platform for points or for tokens. So it'll be hard, but in terms of scaling, right, it's cheaper than Ethereum is. Whether it will be cheaper than Blast, I think is to be determined. I think it's likely. But Inscription is really having their moment right now. I've been following it pretty recently. There was a mint that happened recently called...
Did we lose him?
I'm still here. What happened?
I think
I thought you stopped speaking. My bad. I think it's the network.
All good, man. So
there's been a bunch of mints on the Inscription platform for sure, but the itty bitties were popping. I almost bought a bunch because I was like,
Did you almost FOMO into it?
I did. I really did, because I saw them popping. I was like, oh wow, they're still only like $200 or whatever. Then I was like, man, I can't chase this. I don't have the time. Right. I was just like, I don't have the time, man. What are they at now? They're at like a $10,000. McBride failed again.
No, so you see how I have it here pulled up on the screen. Ordex.ai. This is my favorite Inscription marketplace that I've seen. It's at 0.07. It was up to like 0.15 like a few days ago. So it's come down a little bit. But the interesting component is I'm starting to see more ETH NFT influencers, or like I guess you would say larger accounts and collectors, start showing some attention to Inscriptions, maybe because the other quote unquote ETH whales have already moved over to ordinals and are showing monkeys and all these node monkeys and all these other ones. But it's, this is similar and it's on ETH mainnet. So maybe this satisfies some of them, but I'm starting to see a lot more attention come this way.
Totally. I mean, and it has this really, you can get them inexpensive, right? And so it's much easier to see a 10x when something starts at $10, right? Than when it starts at $1,000. It's so much easier to see those big pops, So obviously our Chinese friends who maybe don't have, they're not even the whales, like even me, right? I'm like, well, let's, 200, but even at $200, I'm like, 200, it's already pricey. I honestly think for me, Inscriptions and Facet, I mean, I've said it before on here. I think those guys have a legit opportunity to be the number one L2, right? Because they're not an L2, they're an L1 plus, right?
Yeah. L1 plus. I like that
L1
name.
plus. I mean, I think they have a unique opportunity. I tried to shill them an idea because I was like, dude, I think you guys have tremendous opportunity here because they're different. They're different than an L2, and I think that the narrative behind it, and they've obviously been able to capture that to a large degree, is it's really, really strong.
It is L1 plus. I like it. I was calling it a L1 scaling solution. Right? I don't really know, but I mean, you open up Facet Swap. I'll have to open up the decks here in a second, but you look here, just at the LP positions. It looks like there's about 6 million total in LP that's been provided. FETH, ETHS, which I think is Facet ETH. So it's like the equivalent of like wrapped ETH, and then ETHS is their top token. It has 500 ETH in total volume over the last 24 hours, which is, a little over $1 million. So, that's nothing to scoff at in these times, especially as liquidity becomes more fragmented across all these different ecosystems. But this is, to me, in terms of like DeFi applications of all inscription ecosystems, I would say Inscriptions is probably furthest ahead.
Yep.
Although recently, I think was this yesterday that Solana came out with a second type of inscription ecosystem. I'm going to defer this question to our Solana expert. Devitt, dude, what is going on with Sol? I thought we had Sol or SPL 20. Now there's another one that came out. What was going on over there?
Yo,
Was good.
man. Yeah, Inscriptions are taking over. A lot of people are looking for kind of what's going to be this cycle's big kind of breakthrough, big kind of change in narrative. It definitely seems like it's going to be something like Inscriptions. Like they're everywhere. They still have enough people that are just kind of inscription deniers kind of thing. With Metaplex, they run the token standards on Solana. So they released their inscriptions, and they pretty much have the standard of every token protocol across the whole chain. So that's a pretty big step for them. It's kind of like legitimizing their approach because it's been audited. They could have rushed it to market, but they kind of took a little bit of time, and they probably have the highest tech team, at least one of the highest tech teams on the whole chain. So I would definitely expect to see a ton more of inscriptions pumping out from there. Like you said, look how far it's even reached to something like Bells, a totally kind of new way of looking at a blockchain. And the first thing that's blowing up on it is inscriptions. There's a ton of traction there. And so these are definitely the thing to watch for the upcoming year.
So what is this with Metaplex? Is this a new inscription standard, or is this just like they're coming in with supplemental developer support?
Yeah, as far as I know, it would be a new inscription standard that they would be basically in charge of, kind of like Adam said yesterday. Still, they've always been criticized for being a little bit gatekeepy, kind of putting themselves between the consumer and the chain always. So it's definitely going to be their own twist and their own standard that you have to go through them, and they'll be able to profit all the way through.
Well, let me give you a little context, everybody who's listening here, a little context. So Chris posts this in the Discord, and I'm like, oh man, I go, and it's like a landing page looks like it's like mint here. And
in the Emblem Discord,
yeah, in the Emblem Discord. And so I go there and I look at it, and then I'm like, and it says total in big numbers, total number inscribed. It's like 12,000, 300. And I was like, oh man, here we go, baby. We're early, right? And so I'm like immediately like, okay, well, how do I start inscribing? How do I figure it out? And I'm like, oh shoot, do I have to go to the creator studio? And then I come back to Chris. I'm like, bro, what's up with? And then it's like, no, it directs you to like a GitHub. And I was like, oh, I see what's going on here, man. No wonder there's only 12,000 inscribed. It's like, you got to be, you got to figure this thing out. And so that's where it ended for me. I was done.
I've faded millions of dollars for this. I remember with when Atomicals came out, I opened up the command center and was trying to go through GitHub, trying to figure out how to inscribe this stuff. And I even messaged the guy who created Atomicals. I forgot what his name was, and asked him to like direct it to me. And I was like, I literally can't figure this shit out. I'm way too dumb for this. now Atomicals and Atom is at $250 million market cap. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
I felt like when it was like $10,000 market cap.
I feel like Adam trying to inscribe ordinals, literally Bitcoin ordinals, when it was literally sub 10. He was like the first person there trying to figure it out.
Oh, the massive misses, man. But yeah, it's incredible, man.
Well, that'll be interesting development to follow on Solana, because now there's 2 inscription standards, which is kind of what Bitcoin is going through. They have one inscription standard, but I guess there's multiple, right? You have Atom, you have BRC or CBRC 20, BRC 100, whatever. So Solana, I guess, is going to be the second through the door in terms of blockchains to get multiple inscription ecosystem types.
It was every chain was kind of breaking through the data processing, and Solana actually held up pretty well considering all things, that it usually has a little bit of issues looking back the last year, but there was actually no issues at all with any of the current previous inscription standards. So I think that this one would be even smoother, and definitely something to look out for.
I'm just wondering, like, what would be the advantage, or is there no advantage to, thinking of it as like a Solana, SRC 20 type standard, when you can already, as far as I know, do, shitcoins on Solana? I'm sure people are going to do it anyway, but is there kind of an advantage? Or
I think that the mostly the selling point that they're going for, and just in general broadly, is that it's fully on chain and fully
the on chain NFT aspect of it.
Always. And so that's pretty compelling for sure. And Adam, definitely good name with the Layer 1 Plus. It's a banger.
Yeah.
I think we might be hearing a lot more of that.
Yeah, that is a really good name. I posted this tweet like a little while ago talking about just kind of like the emerging inscription ecosystems, and in my kind of perspective, what has credibility and what is kind of just more of just copy pasta, throwing things at the wall. For proof of work chains, inscriptions 100% makes sense, right? That's the only way really to add NFTs and fungible tokens to these proof of work chains. When it comes to proof of stake chains, right, they have smart contracts, which is vastly superior than this kind of indexing situation that is built on popsicle sticks and bubble gum. Right? It's really like the fact that Bitcoin ordinals has not imploded was really surprised me. Like it is pieced together, pretty heavily. Well, now it has some firm support, but still, in my opinion, not anything close to what smart contracts can really provide. But we're getting there, right? It's just like the early Ethereum days with smart contracts. It was also just as clunky,
for sure.
But in terms of proof of stake chains, I pulled up here the Inscription coin market leaders, and I posted this. This is the first time I'd posted in 2 weeks about just the update. The top 4 has changed, right? You have Ordi, so Bitcoin ordinals. Atomicals has moved into number 2. And then the next 2 are Inscriptions. ETH S is $192 million market cap. And then Souls is a $72 million market cap for Solana Inscriptions, the first one that we had mentioned. And I think really what's happening here is just these chains have just massive market caps. And so there's just a lot of liquidity kind of slushing around for users to go speculate on different type of things. Because when you look down this chart, right, at the bottom, you have Litecoin ordinals, which we'll get into that. I have some thoughts on that later. Right, you have like Cosmos, which is at the bottom at 2.1 million, Stacks, which is emerging, Ton and Polygon. And so a lot of these are kind of just like, right, all of these proof of stake chains are all down at the bottom outside of Ethereum and Solana, because those two just have, 100 billion plus market caps. I don't know what Solana is now. I think it's over
It's
that.
kind of surprising, that Tron number. I didn't know well, I have
Mhm.
no idea what's going on Tron, but Tron's got a lot of money on it, right? That's kind of surprising. It's at that kind of super low level. Obviously never caught on with like the core people over there. Whoever's using, do I have any Tron? What are Tron people called?
Guys, Tron is a really big platform for Asian people.
Yep.
And for corporates, even since such a long time ago, even before smart contracts. Like I'm in crypto since 2012, and since the beginning, Tron has been introduced into corporate business. For example, if you take Binance, there was a first to incorporate Tron transfers on USDT, and most of the volume of USDT token is on the Tron blockchain.
Yeah, so it's interesting that there's so. I mean, I know a lot of people use it for like low
more.
Yeah, I would think it would be a lot more considering the amount of money on Tron, but maybe it's low payment, it's cheap payments and stuff.
Yeah, it's low payments, it's corporate payment, so it's like it's not used, it's professional use in crypto.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Maybe we should get some Tron, man.
I think that's probably, I mean, if you're looking at this chart, right? So you have the top 4 is Bitcoin ordinals, atomicals, the block word. I'm gonna mute your mic because you got some static in the background. Right, Ethereum and Solana. Number 5, dude. That's what the conversation we had yesterday. NAT on the TAP protocols jumped to number 5. It's jumped over stamps and everything. And that $65 million number is for me, trying to do math with 35 trillion tokens divided by the whatever the listing price is. The math is hard of these. There was no market cap quoted for this, so I had to really kind of figure it out on my own. So I'm pretty sure it's around that number. Stamps, right? So that's another proof of stake chain or proof of work chain. Which
is interesting because that's not even the first one, right? It's interesting that here we have an example of one that wasn't the first, but people just connect with it and they figure that it's the first or whatever. They just are like, oh, it's the one for stamps. Because Kevin's not even, Kevin's obviously number 2 place.
It is a good point. I think this is just showing that users who are trying to store value, they want something familiar and that's easily identifiable, right? Kevin, that could be any chain, but stamp makes sense just as like Ordi for Bitcoin ordinals, atomicals, right? Souls. It all is like similar.
You're talking about stamp? You're talking about the stamp stuff?
Yeah, so the SRC20, the very first one on stamps was actually
the very first to incorporate in different way inscriptions. It's into the transaction itself instead of the up return function, I guess. It's just a different way of storing the information into the blockchain.
Yeah.
And,
let's just say, right, it's a better way. It's the best way.
Yeah, it's the best way. It's a more direct way.
It's the most permanent. It's there for 1,000 years. That's what stamps
even if the crazy laser eyes delete ordinal from the blockchain, they will still have stamps. Yeah,
right. Pump my stamp bags. Jake, oh, by the way, I don't know if we talked about your blurry stamps. Got their own listing, man. Congrats on that, bro.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been so it was weird. There's like 8 of those, and one of I thought I'd made them all 1 of 1, but on Stamp Ninja it says 1 out of 1,000 for one of them. So I don't know if there's like there's some sort of mismatch there. I got to figure that out. But I've been talking to some people who are kind of interested in it. There hasn't been that many sales for the sub kind of 1,000. Mine are in the 100 to 300 range. But I've been talking to some people to try to figure out something cool. I don't think the time is now. Probably, maybe 4 or 5 months from now. As we saw, Bitcoin ordinals are doing their auction at Sotheby's. I would not be surprised to see some of these other ones on Bitcoin also start making their sub 1,000 stamps, sub 1,000 digital objects. That's what they call for atomicals.
Yep.
Even maybe sub 1,000 inscriptions or sub 100 inscriptions, I think could make their way there for those type of auction houses. Right. What it does really it adds credibility to the protocol from the outside. I don't think these auctions really increase the value per se, right? Like when I sold
we have
those,
not seen that at all, right? Not at all.
yeah, it's more of a validation kind of thing, credibility. Also, it really helps.
Feel good, yeah.
Yeah, it helps the right. It gives the community marketing material. Like when I sold those 3 Mooncats at Sotheby's in 2021, they sold way below what the expected price was, and also you start to realize that the majority of the buyers are all just crypto native people. It's not bringing anybody new in. It's just like, see, we're now kind of we're partnering with Web2 or these traditional type of art dealers, and we're kind of making our way there. What do you think, Dogfather?
Hey guys, what's up? What's up? Just wanted to comment on the Sotheby's auction. And you're 100% right, Jake. I mean, you just get some more exposure, but those bring fresh eyes, right? So I always check my X bubble, which is always like full of cool ordinal stuff with what I do professionally on LinkedIn, where I have all these boring contacts. And yeah, people always hate like ordinals, and it's like just very bad artwork, and the real art people that I follow there. So, having galleries and stuff like that. But once Sotheby's was auctioning off ordinals, they cover that and they speak in high regards about the collection, and so that's interesting. So you just reach completely different types of collectors. And first, maybe just the crypto natives may buy, but in the long run, these things will also hang in some galleries.
Oh, did we lose him?
We lost you, bro.
Uh-oh. That's
okay. Damn
Lambo,
man. I tell you, man, it's never good to broadcast from your Lambo, bro.
Lambo, he's always doing that. Kind of going down the chart, right? So for Sotheby's, it's interesting. I mean, just one last comment on it from my perspective. When I sold at Sotheby's, I had 3,000 followers, and then by the end of it, I had 6,000 followers, and it really gave me the springboard to kind of build a brand in the crypto space. And I think this is kind of what a lot of artists are as well. But this auction experience, although this was their second ever crypto or NFT auction ever, from behind the scenes, it was quite chaotic. Some people like Nate Alex didn't even get paid for 6 months.
Crazy, man.
Right.
Crazy.
So I think they have or they have fixed it. Also, the 20% buyer's premium, I think they've cut that down to 10% now. But even then, right, it's like, why would I pay 10% for a buyer when I could go buy it for free or buy it with no fees on OpenSea, right? So it's more of they're starting now to get into this like unique aspect, like Kevin McCoy, right, one of the earliest NFT pioneers on Namecoin, created an ordinals and is auctioning it off there. Same with I think his name's like Dela Cruz or Del whatever, another ETH artist. There's a few of them that have never done ordinals that are auction or participating in this auction. So I think they're getting back to what they are originally do, is bringing things to market that you will not be able to find anywhere else. They were kind of lost in that transition for a little while.
Yeah, I think it opens, we're still waiting for it to reach like the normies, and it certainly doesn't seem like it's done anything like that, but it does actually add this layer of I don't know, respectability, right? That crypto natives like we all want people to come into crypto, right? And so even like the ETF, like it adds layers of respectability, and certainly Sotheby's and Christie's have kind of had that layer. And I saw a lot of people hating on, I don't know if they did a Twitter space. Those guys did a Twitter space, if that happened already or whatever. But there was a ton of hate I was seeing on the timeline, mainly from counterparty people about those aren't, those weren't the first. I don't, whether or not people were saying they were the first Bitcoin NFTs or not, of course they're not. But I saw a lot of hate on that timeline. But again, it just gets back to this point of like, I almost think it's like it adds a layer of respectability for like ETH people to go over to ordinals, right? It's like, oh, Sotheby's over there now. Okay, now I feel like it's fully on the table that Beeple does, one of his everydays on ordinals. Like that's completely on the table now, which is actually amazing, and it's great for the entire space. And people who hate on, you know, ordinals because they're new or whatever, it's like you're on the wrong side of history, man. Period.
Yeah, what's great with ordinals and mostly on Bitcoin, that's the difference between Ethereum, NFTs, and ordinals is like the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain until now was like something only used for, let's say, counterparties and stuff like that. And now we have a consensus on Bitcoin on one side with the ETF, and on the other side, we have like something that everyone can play with. And that's very important. And mostly in my research on Bitcoin, I always consider it as a time chain. It's a blockchain, it's a chain of blocks, but it's a time chain where everyone can have a look and everyone knows that the content inside this blockchain is original, you know?
Immutable.
And the side, we have the same place, and we all look at the same place on the blockchain, the block itself, and we all look at the inscription inside of it. And so we all know that the content is legit, for example, from a sign address or something like this. And that's very important. And I think we are just at the beginning of inscription stuff. And I think that it will be used by corporations itself for securing data, securing, for example, the first patents. For example, a patent on blockchain would be perfect place to deploy a patent first, in the first place, because, you know, it's immutable. You know, you can erase it, you can modify it. And so, yeah, I think the Bitcoin blockchain will grow, and we have a growth in other departments, other categories of activities by the time, and we become the core of something bigger, you know, than the blockchain itself.
Well, that was the talking point this week from, you know, BlackRock CEO was talking about this, which I tweeted about and said, wow, this sounds like a Bitcoin talk forum in 2013, because he was just talking about tokenizing everything, the tokenization of assets. And then this morning, and I'm sure you guys saw on the timeline, Jamie Dimon, who's the whatever CEO of JP Morgan, exposed himself as not actually understanding what Bitcoin is, not understanding what blockchains are, zero clue, which was amazing to me. If you guys haven't seen that, go check out that video, watch to the end, because he literally exposes that he doesn't know what blockchains are, which is incredible to see when you think of people of this sort of like level of understanding power and wealth, that they would have a better, like deeper understanding. I mean, he doesn't have like the most basic of understanding of what a blockchain is. It's incredible to see. And that video is rightly popping off this morning because it's hard to watch. It's incredible, man. I don't know if you saw it, Jake.
No, but you know, it's interesting. So 2 points. One, JP Morgan actually has the largest crypto division of all traditional financial, I guess you could say, conglomerates. I think it's around 180 people on their crypto division, and they built Onyx, which is the tokenization of money markets. So taking like instrument or debt instruments and options and these different type of, I guess you say, international financial products, and trying to tokenize it on chain. It's almost kind of similar to what Emblem does, but just the traditional version of it. So I think he's playing more of a game. I think he's completely aware of what's going on, and he's just playing dumb more than anything. But second here, and you know, this is putting a little bit more of like a tinfoil hat on. I don't know if you saw on BlackRock's website, they're taking applications for Bitcoin core developers.
Bro, Luke Jazz Jr.'s got himself a job, baby.
So here, right, obviously Bitcoin core developer. So it's either BlackRock wants to sponsor somebody, or they're trying to essentially fork Bitcoin and create their own BlackRock Bitcoin or whatever. So there could be something here, you know, or maybe they're all in cahoots with each other, all these financial market leaders.
Bro, they should give a call to Craig Wright, man.
Yeah, I did want to ask Chris. Chris has a much, you know, more firm understanding of traditional markets and movements. What are your thoughts between Jamie Dimon and BlackRock now offering Bitcoin developer positions or core developers?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it is. I saw the video with Jamie Dimon. I have to agree that I don't know how someone can play so dumb, because it seems so authentic. This guy is incredible. There's no way the guy has no idea what's going on.
Bro, he said 20 million. First, he said 20 million Bitcoins is the max. Then he called him
Some of these people are so compromised. It's like incredible. But I mean, he is so convincing that it's got, it's a real head scratcher that you're like,
It's
wow.
literally like I've never had anybody explain to me how Satoshi can't just come
Literally,
back.
yeah, exactly. Just incredible performance art. It seems it's almost hard to believe that isn't real, but just knowing that there's no way that that's even possible for him to be that in the dark, there's just no way. But people like Fidelity, they have had contact with Bitcoin core developers since like 2016, 2015. They've been mining Bitcoin. They've been super involved in the ecosystem. Anyone that has that much money, when they get involved with something, they do the deepest research that, is known to man, and they get basically in touch with everybody that's in charge. Same with like, look at how Saylor came on to the scene. He started investing a bunch of money, and then he literally tapped every resource within the ecosystem, has had countless meetings with individual core developers, everything like that. So these people are way deeper in the ecosystem in general than any crypto natives would ever want to admit. That's just kind of how the spectrum works. And so JP Morgan has been involved in a long time. Like Jake said, they have all of this, bravado on the surface, but then they have the biggest crypto division of anyone on Wall Street. I mean, when you run a financial center that large, you have your ears to the ground, and you know exactly what's happening, regardless of what you make it seem to mainstream media and things like that.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit of a head scratcher. I think there's something going on that we're just probably not aware of. Probably my speculation would be that they want to create their own. They want to fork Bitcoin or try to take consensus control of it. But I don't know. To be determined. $10 billion in ETF flow over the last 4 or 5 days it just trounces any other ETF opening in history. I think it was like 2 or 3 times. I think it was like three.
It's definitely good flows.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the flows out of GBTC into the cheaper products. I think that was like 4 or 6 billion of the 10 billion. But still, I think that they said that the highest in basically within the previous year of like regular flows was like 450 million or something like that for basically newer ETFs. So even with the negative GBT flows, you're still looking at like 4 to 6 billion, which is a massive number.
Just absolutely trouncing it. But in other news, speaking of still in the Bitcoin ecosystem and world, I think Counterparty might have, some sort of revival here. I don't know if you guys heard, but 2 of the original creators of Counterparty are returning to the protocol to maintain it with Joe Looney and JP Jansen. Shannon, the founder of Emblem, was originally on that. He decided to pass on the opportunity just because of the workload at Emblem, and the work required to maintain it was just not satisfactory to us being able to move forward. But moving and talking about Counterparty, it was been a wild month. And I was actually lucky. I hung out with J-Dog on Saturday. He was in
bro,
Vegas.
give us the deal, man. How was it? How was that party, man?
It was pretty cool. It was a small group. It was like 7 of us. I ended up, so Sean Lear I'd met before. I was who's a rare Pepe scientist. I spoke with him on a panel at NFT NYC last year. So that's when I got to meet him in person. He's obviously not an Anon either. J-Dog was with his girl. I got to meet Crypto Chainer, who's the largest Pepe holder. And then there was a few other just Pepe kind of OGs or OG kind of Counterparty guys. I ended up meeting up with them at Omnia nightclub, and they got a table, and we were out there whiling until I think I left at like 3 a.m. Those guys got lost at the end of the night. It was like 2:30. I was literally the only person at the table, just hanging out with a bunch of chicks I invited to the table because they disappeared on me, dude. I don't know what happened. They went to go hunting, and everyone was gone. So ended up one of my other buddies, but I used to work at Omnia, right? So before I went crypto full time in 2020, I opened up Omnia nightclub from 2015 to 2020. So I knew the entire staff there. So I was just shooting the shit with a bunch of them, but it was a good time. Me and J-Dog actually got to talk for 20, 30 minutes, and he really explained in detail kind of his thought behind everything that had happened here, which is summarized in Joe Looney's post. But the whole idea and the issue is that J-Dog believes that and this is under his own opinion, that stamps and SRC20 are spam to counterparty. And I think at the core of it, he believes that there should not be a token layer on top of another token layer. Is kind of, I think, what the core idea is, which, you know, in terms of like creating more efficient ecosystems, that makes complete sense, right? Counterparty is a token layer, so he doesn't believe you should put more tokens, right, like stamps or SRC20 on top of it, because it causes this idea of like UTXO bloat, and, you know, the performance is not as efficient as what it could be. So what he did is he removed stamps. First he did SRC20 back in summer, but then removed stamps from counterparty, or not from counterparty, from Xchain, which is the main explorer. It was a central kind of authority, right? Everyone used Xchain over the last 7 years. JDog also ran Free Wallet, which was the wallet everyone used for counterparty assets. He censored stamps from both of those, and it caused chaos. And ultimately, what happened here was that when he removed it, he then activated a different version of counterparty, which created a fork. And this actually caused, you know, a lot of issues where now that there's a fork, there's two different consensus. And this had never happened. I don't think this had happened in counterparty in a long time. Very deep discussion, and I didn't go through it, but from what I hear in the counterparty Discord or Telegram chat, it was quite contentious. There was a lot of animosity that was there. Ultimately, JDog then rebooted Xchain to the current state, and so the fork was averted. But, you know, with this being said, right, Xchain and Free Wallet is a private, you know, application. He created these. He's been maintaining it. You know, he's been the central kind of infrastructure provider for counterparty for 5 or so years, maybe 6. This sparked Robbie, who's a co-founder of counterparty, and I think the other guy's name is Adam. They both returned to be signers on counterparty on the repo with Joe Looney and JP Jansen, who are very respected people in the community. And so I actually reached out to Adam to see if we could get him on the show to come in and explain everything that happened. I think the big question is, like, why did they disappear for so many years, and why did they leave? It looks like they started a new project called Symbiont. So I'm hoping he'd come by, but he made a post today. It looks like they're already testing this. He's already working on it. He said adding some juicy tests to counterparty and its nightly circle client, I think is a client. He said he's going to reparse the whole network history and an in-memory database with rollbacks to random blocks and check that consensus hashes always agree. So it looks like, you know, he's already moving forward on this. JDog was like the sole repo controller of it, so he handed it off. So what was chaos is now, you know, I think a massive benefit to counterparty. The two original creators are now signers on the repo. You have two of the most respected people in the community are signers. It's a little bit more decentralized, and you know, maybe this can be the resurgence of counterparty. There's a lot of potential there. In my opinion, right, and this is, again, my opinion, I think if stamps and SRC never left, I think counterparty would be competing with ordinals as a top meta protocol, right? It would have rare Pepe, spells of Genesis, fake rares. It'd have a fungible token ecosystem. It would have stamps. It would have SRC20. It would have XEP. I think it'd be right up there with ordinals competing in a multi-billion-dollar market cap. So it's really unfortunate that happened. I actually posted about the idea of SRC20 returning to counterparty, and Mike shut that down immediately and actually said it's probably likely that stamps will actually leave counterparty because they're doing it's a native method. So with SRC20, I didn't even know this. He said they're doing it raw. They're raw dogging it. They're just going straight to the chain. There's no intermediate protocol that they're integrating with. They're just doing it straight. And so I think with stamps might eventually leave counterparty as well. Yeah. But to me, I think, you know, washing out the old, which is not bad. JDog is much respected. You have so much respect for that guy. You know, I don't agree with the spam idea, and he knows it. We talked about this as well. And he was very appreciative of myself and Adam helping him, you know, with the moderation. A lot of these developers, they don't like being they don't like being on spot, because ultimately most people just have negative things to say to devs. It's generally not much positivity.
Yeah, it's all problems, man.
and I know Adam, you hosted a spaces, or you moderated a space with JDog, and now JDog gets to move on and go do BTNS, which is cool, right? So it seems like it's now a win-win-win. After kind of that chaos that ensued. But, give us a little bit of that recap of I think it was last Thursday, maybe, or Wednesday, of the hour or 2 hour long spaces with JDog.
Yeah, I mean, it was great that he wanted to do an AMA, right? Where people could, let their feelings know and let him respond, right? And I think at the core, he felt like he needed to do something to force change. And I think the fork was actually was actually a pretty smart way, looking back on it, to force these developers to stand up and basically protect their assets, right? So Joe and JP, obviously huge vested interest in the success of Counterparty. They had to step up, and they definitely, I'm not going to speak for them, but they were not happy, as most holders weren't happy. They weren't happy with this, right? It potentially screws with their stuff. And so weren't happy with JDog, and most people were not happy with what JDog did. But look, if you understand anything, that, bro, if nobody's listening to you for 6 months, 9 months,
this is years in this case,
and nobody's taking action, and everything's on you, and it's like, well, am I going to do this for another 6 months, 8 months? And he pushed go on this as a way to force change, and he got that change. And so, I don't fault him for it, because in the end of the day, he felt like he had to get out from under this thing, which he did. And obviously, founders came back. Like, all this motion happened because he did that fork, and people were like, "Fork emergency," and it was right. And so I on his part, I say, well played, because he got that action that he wanted. Got a lot of hate for it, but people will forget that over time, and that'll soften. And everybody will appreciate the years of, sacrifice he put into it. But at the end of the day, I'm with you, man. The whole stamps thing was actually, for me, just a giant missed opportunity for Counterparty. This was a way of Counterparty to basically put its, a new flag in the ground, as like, we're not only the old dogs, but here we are with this new thing. And it's even, the better than Ordinal's narrative, unprunable, all that sort of stuff, is actually really strong narrative. And unfortunately, that's been kind of washed away under this like spam narrative. That the reality is, we probably should, and we've talked about this a bit in the telegrams and stuff, we shouldn't be talking about whether or not named assets should have a fee. We should be talking about whether named assets should have a fee. Maybe we should be getting rid of all the fees. Why is Counterparty not, competing on a level playing field where there are no fees? You simply are paying the Bitcoin fee to inscribe or write the transaction, right? So anyway, it's brought up this idea, but Counterparty, in a lot of ways, a lot of the people in the community are still stuck to this idea, which frankly is outdated and not current, right? I mean, it was their best guess at the way forward to prevent kind of people just minting everything. But we all know it didn't prevent anybody from minting anything. Like, we know, you and I, JP Jansen has, 5,000 named assets, right? The 50-cent fee didn't prevent anybody from doing anything. And to put a new 50-cent fee on numbered assets or whatever, just does not seem to match current market conditions. So we'll see how it is going forward. Your assets are safe, everything's okay, but it was a big kerfuffle, and unfortunately, I think Counterparty suffered for it. Dogfather, what's up, man?
Another dog, not JDog, but Dogfather.
The other dog.
Yeah, this other dog. With this whole XCP discussion, I mean, stamps were pretty smart in a sense that they wanted to have numerical assets because they wanted to avoid XCP, because they knew if they say it's a pure Bitcoin play, they are closer to ordinals, right? Yep. And which was smart. They had a lot of traction. And I mean, you see the sales, so people liked it. And this old school counterparty stuff, I don't know whether they were envious or whatnot, but at least they didn't have the same bags they had with their rare peppies and all the other stuff. So it was like kind of like a competitor. And they had like the XCP bags, and honestly, this was one of the selling propositions for XCP. Look, we are always burning supply, because if you want to do a token, a named token or a sub asset, or if you want to do a dividend, then you have to burn some XCP. So if you have a huge XCP bag, you like the current state, while all the others don't, right? And that was, I think, one of the main reasons of this clash, I would say.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Like old stakeholders versus new users, something like that.
Yeah, that's why in our project, we are an upcoming crypto project. We aim to create an event overseas on a cruise ship, and first of its kind, like crypto event on the sea. And to do so, we aim to make an NFT collection, but we won't make it classical. We want to be the first NFT collection to have real life utility. So, for example, this NFT will give you access to a community that will give you access to the ship itself. So on board, to have a cabin, you will have to have your NFT with you. And we want to make something.
Wait, are you saying you're the first to provide a utility, dude?
No, not utility. I mean,
Or the first to provide a ship utility.
The collection itself, we have at least, I mean, when it's in its value, the first initial value of the collection will be at least the value of the cabin.
Okay, hey, it's good, man.
At least after the market will decide. I will not have no power on it. I don't want to have any hand on the system. I just want to create an initiative where we can say, okay, this thing is huge. We don't have the amount of money. Let's create a kind of DAO with NFTs and fund it and do the business. You know, we want to do it this way, and we aim to create something like more like gathering, like not like a convention where people in one side you have people, the guests who will come, and in the other side you have the professionals that will sell. And we want to do something in another way, in the sense that like it will be more like gathering of communities, like music, crypto, and gaming together for 5 days.
Cool, man. Interesting project there. I'm gonna get back to the inscription talk here for a second, though. So Counterparty will be, might be back in the forefront, might be back in the center. When you look at the chart that I'd posted all the way down at the very bottom, that is just like absolutely imploded, is Litecoin ordinals, which is where we helped, right? Litecoin ordinals was the second ordinal ecosystem, and
what'd you say? It was a year ago, almost, right? Now
it was like February 24th, I think, is what the chart was, or maybe even a little bit earlier. It came a few days before Doginals was created, and Light is now at $2 million market cap. The whole system's imploded. A lot of
what did it get up to? What was its peak?
I think it was around 10 million.
Okay,
and that was the issue with the ecosystem right now. Is you've had 2 or 3 different marketplaces pop up. They've all imploded. One of them rugged. There was like 2 different indexers. Gate is using one indexer. Lightscribe, which is the wallet, hasn't been maintaining their wallet. You can't write transfer inscriptions out of the wallet. It's just like, it's a fucking shit show. And so there was a new wallet that had popped up called LightX, which is from BitX, which again, a little bit sketchy. BitX acquired Ohms. Ohms was a rug on BRC20. There was some sketchy stuff there. I took the chance here because Litecoin ordinals is a risk, and I ended up getting wallet drained. I ended up losing 10 LTC. I woke up on Sunday morning and I'd noticed one transaction that had transferred 10 LTC out of my wallet, like 10 and a half. And it happened before I was even awake. So I was trying to figure out what the hell was really going on here. As I hit up Luke, right? Luke's one of our favorite GigaChat devs who just understands this stuff. I reached out to him and I said, hey, can you help me figure out what the hell's going on here? And we ended up finding out 18 other people were also drained. And so we believe, and we reached out to BitX, and BitX also clarified that, it is likely from that wallet that it happened. From some people in the comments, they had said it's likely because I imported my seed phrase into BitX. They said it's likely that with some of these wallet extensions, if they don't obfuscate or encrypt it correctly, then people have the ability to just have your seed phrase. And so we think this is likely what happened. I'm still waiting.
How does that even happen?
I don't know.
I mean, they're not on your computer though, right?
No, I guess it has to do something with like local storage or some sort of web storage or putting it to the cloud, or I don't know. It's a little bit above my head, but I'm waiting for them to come out and specifically identify what the issue was.
Yep.
So I lost that. It's still luckily right. And it was a tough situation. Could have been worse. This is not the second time I've been wallet drained before. So good thing I practiced, decent wallet security to where, the first one was a little bit larger, but nothing that's like life changing. And this one's a smaller scale, right? About $1,000. It's still nothing to scoff at, but it's like when you see some of these other, wallet drains where people lose hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, right? That's like something to happen. The first wallet drain had 24 Mooncats drained to me. It was like 10, 15 grand in value, right? That's where that one hurts. It still hurts, but it's still not my biggest rug in this space, right? I've still been rugged multiple times before that. It's unfortunate, but that's kind of, you got to be on the frontier. I was talking with Swapna, who's our newest dev. If you guys didn't see that announcement, Emblem hired first Chris was our 5th team member, and then Swapna, senior engineer from Coinbase for 5 years, joined the team. And we were just kind of discussing what had happened. And she's like, it's unfortunate these situations happen, but if you want to be on the frontier innovation, right, you gotta participate in these kind of ecosystems, but you just gotta practice wallet security when you're doing this. So, I'm setting up additional measures to make sure. I thought I was completely there. Maybe now I'm gonna have to set up another.
Is there a way to be completely there, bro? Other than have 800,000 wallets? Like
yeah, right.
Somebody tweeted out today. He's like, I spent the weekend doing wallet security and I'm about to kill myself because it's so ridiculous. I have 875 wallets on 45 chains. What am I doing? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's crazy, man. Honestly, we're fortunate. Like, I've been rugged. You've been rugged. I haven't had a wallet drainer incident yet. Thank God, knock on wood. But, it's only a matter of time. Right. It's like I was thinking of doing the Litecoin thing. And I'm like, honestly, I think Luke gave out to anybody who had a Litecoin ordinal or whatever, a Moonbird. If you had something, he was going to give you, LTC, the first token. Right. And he was like, just here's the GitHub, download the wallet. And I was like, I'm going to pass on this one. You know what I mean? It was like, I'm just going to pass on it because I don't want like this risk of whatever this is. Like, it's not for me. Right. I'm willing to pass on this because I just don't feel comfortable, on any of my 18 computers downloading this stuff. Like I'm out,
I agree. Tim Shell says, what's up, guys? Who's on the live stream? What's up, bro? Long time no talk. I got one more thing and then I'll call on you, Jimmy. So in the light of this, 3 days later, and just, of course, with just absolute reckless abandon, Chicken Market just popped up, which looks like Doggy Market, but for Litecoin ordinals. I went ahead and plugged into it.
It's like, let me plug my main wallet in here. See what happens.
So we plugged into it. There's a few listings. Doggy Market confirmed this is not them, although it is the exact same interface as Doggy Market. So it looks like somebody forked Doggy Market somehow and then created one for Litecoin ordinals. There's minimal listings here. I did list a few of my Here We Go Again ordinals. This is a sub 1K collection. That I inscribed. I also got Lizard Lounge listed, which is another sub 1K that I had inscribed, but nothing's listed. I don't think there's actually been a sale here. Somebody also just notifies me that in order to delist an asset, you have to sell it to yourself. So it's just like, dude, Litecoin Ordinal is just this, the craziest ecosystem, dude. Just absolute implosion on every corner. But I feel like to me though, Right, proof of work chains, no NFTs beforehand. There's still $5 billion on this chain. Right, I'm
right.
not going to let this go, because whenever there is an efficient marketplace, it's going to pop. There's people just sitting on massive amounts of Litecoin, and if you compare it to, right, we were discussing at the very beginning, the reason why Inscriptions and Solana Inscriptions coins are now number 3 and 4 is probably just because there's a shitload of money just sitting there, right, for people to speculate. Litecoin's still in the top 25, still there with a lot of value. Still opportunity for any of these builders to figure it out, but Jesus Christ, it is the most cursed ordinal ecosystem that exists out there. Hopefully one day this will really be figured out. What's up, Jimmy?
Hey, what's up, guys? What's up? Yeah, like, I learned quite a bit about what was going on, because it was hard to keep up with what the hell was going on Counterparty through secondhand knowledge. I don't know if you know Bobby Zoo trying to explain things to me in rooms, and just for people have no idea. I guess in the general community, I'm sure you guys have no idea who the hell I am. But I don't know if you remember the Ghostface Killer drop when we did, that we essentially brought Wu-Tang Clan to Counterparty, right? And it was a very successful drop. And, I'm one of those guys that bought J-Dog's token back in 2021. And, everybody was sort of bullish on the future of Counterparty. And I don't know, man, I feel like I got rugged. I looked at my goddamn free wallet. I still got the J-Dog token, right? And I feel like I got rugged because, I was sold on, I was sold on Bitcoin culture. I was sold on just so many things. I mean, I wouldn't even speak to Ghostface Killer to do an original verse, to work with Rare Pepe, if I wasn't sold on it. And I was sold on it. And I still believe in Counterparty, but, I sort of, I'm sort of confused by one or two individuals having this much control over an entire ecosystem, right?
Yep.
And how untenable that is. What are your thoughts on like the future of Counterparty? Is there any future at all? Like, if somebody dies, can we complete? I feel like if J-Dog has a heart attack, I'm wrecked.
All over. Yeah, no, I mean, look, man, your thoughts are, and that idea is, a lot of people were feeling that, right? When the main Explorer and the main wallet goes down, you're like, what's going on? This is over. But I think that the thing to put in context is the same thing could happen on Ethereum, right? If MetaMask turned off tomorrow, MetaMask is owned by a private company, and the Explorer turned off tomorrow on ETH, that's a private company. We'd all be like, what's going on? Oh my God, is ETH broken, right? Same thing just happened with JDog, right? JDog owns Xchain, JDog owns Free Wallet. So the same thing happened. And it's discombobulating and it's scary and stuff. And everybody understands why that's scary. But the underlying tokens in the chain and everything is fine. But I do agree with you. And I think JDog moving and basically pulling away from Counterparty, where now 4 people are involved as the core devs, it still feels like, wow, that doesn't feel robust enough. But just to put in perspective, Bitcoin had the same deal in 2013, 14, and 15. Like, it was, 5-6 guys which were basically running Bitcoin, and it still is very much similar today. And there's a lot more robustness because there's thousands or millions of people on Twitter talking about it, and there are hundreds or thousands of devs who have a vested interest in it. So it's much more robust than it previously was. But don't kid yourself. Like, Bitcoin in 13 and 14 was literally a handful of guys running that whole thing. So, put some solace in Counterparty that it really only takes a couple guys to run these things. So that's kind of my viewpoint on it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of look at ordinals, right? When we talked with Casey before mainnet and the early days of ordinals, it was literally just Casey there running the entire thing. It's a pretty common. But JDog had expressed for years. Think about it. He's been running Counterparty essentially as the lead maintainer for 5 or 6 years, and he's been expressing for 5 or 6 years that other people need to come in and build in the ecosystem, and no one ever came.
Yeah.
So he had to force his hand to get change, and it happened.
Yep. Yeah. Does that make you feel better, Jimmy, or you're still like, this is bullshit?
I mean, look, do I have to start using another wallet? Like, what's going on here? Do I have to wait until more guys build explorers and stuff like that? I mean, is that even happening right now?
So building a counterparty is a little bit tough. Yeah, you could use XCP Ninja, which also runs Stamped Ninja. I also think Free Wallet and Xchain is back up using the current counterparty client, so there's no fork anymore. So you could go back and use Free Wallet and stuff now.
Yeah, I just saw this download button to like download a new version, and I was scared, so I didn't want to click the button. So I can do that safely.
If you open your old version, it should say update. You should be able to update from your old version as well.
Yep, got it. All right.
Your assets are safe, my friend. But it's a little scary learning how look, tech is fragile at the end of the day. But vested interests, and we saw it here with Counterparty, vested interests, people with literally millions of dollars in counterparty assets, get people, when somebody steps away, like other people step in because there are aligned incentives. So it's the weakness, but it's also the power of blockchains that people will step up because people have vested interest in this stuff working, so it's scary. Yeah.
Yeah. Building support for counterparty is tough too, because I could be wrong, but I do not believe PSBTs work with counterparty because it's not native Bitcoin.
Yep.
So this is where the dispensaries are created, right? So it makes a very the trading environment has a lot of friction. So this is why a lot of people use Emblem, because it helps reduce that friction. So hopefully once we deploy on ordinals, right, I suspect a lot of Pepes will begin using ordinal vaults to then just go trade natively on Bitcoin, because then you could do PSBTs with rare Pepes and stuff like that and go trade natively. So it is a little bit of a predicament there. What's up, Dogfather?
I mean, you also have to say that, the DEX on Counterparty was very innovative. You could do stuff you couldn't do on OpenSea or, later it was Blur for a long time, like NFT to NFT swaps and stuff like that. It was just like people didn't like the UX or the experience. So nobody really wanted to few people wanted to download the app because it was mostly on desktop, and but the functionalities are not that bad, and even dispensers are very kind of like obscure to many, but it's an extremely efficient instrument. In particular, if it's not like the higher value assets, but it's just different to everything you have on ETH, and people hate to read 5 minutes and try it out.
Yeah, it is a super cool project. Well, I think today, dude, a fun market talk. There was a few things else I wanted to get into. Maybe another conversation. I did post the other day about the trade-offs of ordinals and ETH NFTs. I said, I don't know if you saw that, but it caused a lot of
some responses to it. I think your take's pretty close, but
Joe Looney was very upset. Ordinals wallet guys were very upset. I basically said, the basic premise, and obviously this is an oversimplified version, but the idea, the trade-offs between ETH NFTs and ordinals is this. ETH NFTs, your data, right, the image is off-chain. It's hosted on IPFS, but the token, the ownership layer, the token is on-chain. With Bitcoin ordinals, the data is on-chain, right? You're inscribing data into the Bitcoin blockchain, but you're not actually inscribing it into a Satoshi, like a lot of people say. That it's not true. You're using the Satoshi basically as a receipt to say that this Satoshi owns, or quote unquote owns, to ordinal theory, this data that's been inscribed onto Bitcoin. Right. So I said the ownership layer of ordinals is off chain. And a lot of people got really upset of me pointing that out because,
Satoshi's in the wallet, Jake.
Right? They're like, ordinals are fully on chain. I'm like, no, it's not. It's just not simply true. I know Leonidas likes to LARP and do it, but we even had, last time we had Leo on, he even said that same thing. Yeah, it's just not fully on chain. But he does. But
pointer is agreed upon. The pointer from that Satoshi to that data is agreed upon consensus. That's it. It's not. There's nothing on chain that points those to that links those together. But
Yep. But the Satoshi is on chain, though. I do get that the Satoshi is on chain. But if the indexers disappeared, no one would have any idea of what Satoshi owns what data or is the receipt for it. No idea. I do hope, and I do hope one day, and I think this could happen, that ordinals will be merged into Bitcoin Core, and then it will be fully on chain, right? The whole idea of being fully on chain is you should be able to reconstruct the ownership and data with just the information that exists on chain, and that is not fully there. I do hope one day that actually does. I think the best you could actually probably get to fully on chain NFTs was actually stamps on counterparty, to be completely honest, right? The image is embedded into the UTXO, the token of counterparty is fully on chain. To me, that was like the closest you'd get. But if stamps are going to leave, then I don't know. Who knows? Maybe stamps raw is also a good possibility as well. But a debate for another day, because that.
No, it's the NFT debate all over again, man. Here we go again. When I read Joe's response, I was like, here we go again, bro.
It was the same thing in historical NFT community, right? It was the same thing. The reason why is I'm familiar, right? The whole on-chain generative thing with Mooncats, I've gone through this debate for years already at this point in time. Dogfather, give us one last opinion before we close it up.
Yeah, I mean, with counterparty, it's also not just the pure Bitcoin node. You also need the counterparty federated server and then a special wallet. So, I mean, you could say, isn't that so much different from an indexer and, a dedicated Ordinals wallet? So it's neither, pure Bitcoin there as well. So you need a few, bells and whistles to actually access your counterparty assets.
Yep. That is a very valid point. Maybe raw dog stamps when they leave counterparty is the most on chain there. That would be a good narrative. So for those that don't know, Adam, myself, and Chris and Dogfather, we host a show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow we are featuring Omnisat. We're getting Bunzi and Jen on the show. We're going to dive through testnet, native BRC20 to Bitcoin swaps. I'm also, one of the core contributors to that we began creating back in April. So it's been a long way here. Testnet is exciting. Hopefully it'll be something novel, but they're going to walk us through everything live on stream so you could see really how it works. It's been some insane numbers, by the way, before I close this up here. Over 11,000 site visits. I think we're close to 800 swaps and this is on testnet. And around 3,000 unique viewers. And I had never used Bitcoin testnet before, so it was kind of cool to actually go through and really dabble. It's exactly the same as Bitcoin. One sat per VByte fees. So kind of remembering the time where transactions were processed instantly. Those days are long over. So we'll cover that tomorrow. Make sure that you guys follow everybody on stage. Also, Viva, who's in the crowd, congratulations on the memes drop, dude. Big step forward getting out to the Ethereum audience. Much deserving to you. Maybe we'll talk about that another day here in the future. All right, guys, until then, enjoy your hump day, and we'll see you tomorrow.